having a wonderful concept was started by GKPD Global Kashmiri Pandit Daisafora in association with I Am Buddha channel. A Kashmir festival is being observed from 19th December to 19th January. 19th January, as all of us know, is the Exodus Day, the Holocaust Day, the Black Day of Kashmiri Pandits. A series of sessions are happening on online on this I Am Buddha YouTube channel as well as Facebook channel, and we had some of the some of the fantastic discourses yesterday. Also, I was listening to the session which Rakesh ji moderated. It was really intellectually rich and brilliant. Also, there is one session happening. Advait Vahini moderating that. That session is also going so well. So taking this initiative forward. Today we are doing this session on uh, Kashmir, the land of Dharma, and we will be focusing primarily on pre-Islamic history of Kashmir and showcase how the Kashmir was land of Dharma and the people who contributed towards that. So we have a very elite panel today, and it's an honor and privilege for me to host this online session. And I welcome all panelists, including Mr. Sanjay Sonawani ji, Rakesh Khalji, Vinod Razdan ji, and Dileep Langoo ji. So I have a great honor and privilege to welcome Mr. Rakesh Khalji. Rakesh Khalji is, though he has been given a very small, brief, profile which he has sent to me on mail, but it is much more than that. He is not only the author of two very important historical, books called The Last Queen of Kashmir and Down the Warrior Princess of Kashmir. But he is an IT professional, he is an investor, he is a philanthropist, he is a social activist, and he motivates us to do some good work. So, with those words, I will request Rakesh ji to please throw some light on see the Kashmir. When we talk about Kashmir, we always say that it is not only beautiful with regard to its landscapes, but it has more than that. It has a rich culture, it has a spiritual past, it has a scholarly past. Shankaracharya had visited Kashmir to seek, knowledge and to, interact with people from Kashmir, scholars of Kashmir. We had Sharda Peeth. Swami Vivekanand visited Kashmir with these strengths, a past of 5,000 years. I think Kashmir is a full, complete package in itself in terms of a seat of learning, in terms of a beautiful place as a place to visit, academics, everything you talk about. So Rakesh ji, I think you are the best person who can maybe share his thoughts as to why Kashmir is land of Dharma. Request Rakesh ji to please share this.
Sanjay ji, thank you. And I feel honored to be part of this dharmic panel, especially my illustrious panel members who, over the last 40 years, I have observed in their personal life as being incredible dharmic role models. So I'm going to make a very bold assertion that Kashmir is the ultimate laboratory, the ultimate land where one can study Dharma. It begins with the Saraswath Brahmins who migrated to Kashmir. In the time of Mahabharata, Saraswath Brahmins are mentioned at least 20 times. Now, interestingly, they fought against Lord Krishna. They were on the other side. And because relationships matter, it is not surprising that the king of Kashmir was on the other side of Lord Krishna. And there was a battle. The king was killed by Lord Krishna's discus. And the question became, who should succeed him? Because his wife was pregnant and he didn't have a son. And there were a lot of males who were vying to occupy the throne. But here is what Krishna said. Krishna, who is the giver of dharma, when it came to Kashmir, observed the dharma of Kashmir. He said, this is the land of Uma. The women of Kashmir are Parvatis. And he declared Rani Yashovati, the widow of King Damodar, who he had killed, as the ruler of Kashmir. So even the dharma giver, Krishna, observed the dharma of Kashmir. We move on, and dharma then became associated with the study of the pathway of Buddha. And Kashmir was seen as the place to study Abhidharma. Famous monks like Kumara Jiva were brought by their mother to Kashmir, and over 500 monks came out of Kashmir and traveled to China. There are, even today, Kashmiri Muslims who carry the last name Dharma. The famous 5 temples of Alchi are called the Dharma Mandala. Kanishka was the emperor who was considered to be one of the great upholders of Dharma in Kashmir. And Jayant Bhatta tells us that the protection of Dharma was the highest responsibility of the king. As Buddhism transformed and Shaivism took more sway, Uma came to the forefront. And Dharma was seen as the revealed pathway, the Margdarshan of Shakti, the Dharaka that supports, holds, and sustains the universe. And because it was seen that way, the foundation of modern Srinagar that was laid by King Pravarsena II, we are told it was laid out in the form of a Matra Chakra. The Kashmir Mandala was a dharmic mandala. Its sacred foundations of Srinagar were founded on Dharma. We now move to the 4th key highlight of Dharma in Kashmir, and that is what is revealed by Kalhana. Many people quote Rajtarangani, but they never ask, why did he write that book? He did not have a patron, unlike other authors or poets. He didn't have a paying audience. For whom and why? And in my paper, which I have co-authored, Nama, Rupa, and Aham, I have posited that Kalhana wrote Rajtarangani because he wanted to give a message of Dharma in Kashmir and the lesson out of it. And the high point of Dharma in Kashmir, he picked Lalitaditya in the 8th century, and the low point of Dharma, he picked Harsha of the 12th century. It's interesting that when he introduces Harsha, He starts with a rhetorical question: how will it be possible to describe the matter of King Harsha? And then he devotes 1,000 verses to do just that. There is a key verse in Raitarangani, which I'll save for the end, Sanjay ji, where I will share Kalhanna's secret supreme on what a dharmic warrior is all about. But let me move in this Dharma Yatra of Kashmir now to the fifth stage. And this is what I tag as Butchakan Dharma. This is when Dharma in Kashmir moved into a stage of resistance and firm resistance for the sake of Tilak, Janyu, and Dharma. Millions laid down their lives but did not compromise. And this stage extended all the way into the sixth stage in 1675 with Tegh Bahadur Ji, where Kashmiri Dharma had its greatest tributary in Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, who became the avatar of Dharma's savior. And I know Vinod Razdan Ji will talk a lot more about that. This moved on into the seventh stage, where Birbal Thar showed the highest Dharma with his counter strike against the Afghans. And then we see Dharma again raising its head during the Kabali raids with Maqbool Sherwani, the shining example of modern times, who understood that Dharma is different from religion and Dharma trumps religion. And then in the ninth stage, independent India, Dharma was caught in a very unequal fight between the combined forces of Shariat and secularism, which you, Sanjay Ganjoo ji, were a witness to our warriors. But now we enter post-genocide 1990, the 10th stage of our Dharma. And I call that stage of us, Kashmiri Pandits, who I see as the Jedi Knights of Kashmir, as the Swairya Dharma stage, the stage where we operate with freedom from and freedom to. So this has been the 10 stages of the Dharma journey extending over 5,000 years. There is no other place on earth where one can study Dharma analytically, objectively, dispassionately, and see how at each stage Dharma has faced its challenges, how at each stage avatars have emerged that Dileep Langoo and Sanjay Sunamji will talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Rakesh ji. I think you have laid the fundamentals, the basics of this session. I think the way you describe Kashmir as the land of Dharma and those who have contributed towards that. Now I move over to Vinod Razdan ji. Vinod Razdan ji is basically a banker, and he is a banker turned scholar. In fact, he has read lots of books on Kashmir, and he has been contributing a lot in terms of his articles on Kashmir history, culture, and his book is also in the pipeline from Shama to Ragnya. So I will request Vinod Razdan ji to please share his thoughts, because he might have done a lot of research, and he might have done a lot of work on the times when we pre-Islamic period, when the tallest personalities during that time who contributed towards the betterment of this betterment of this world, and he might have research on those particular figures. I will request him to please focus on those prominent figures in pre-Islamic period from Kashmir and how their role helped Kashmir in achieving the status of land of Dharma. Vinodji.
Thank you. I will. I don't think whether I can justify the topic within that short span of time, but I will still try to focus on various aspects of this the land of Dharma, which has been the Kashmir. It is on that day when Kashyap Rishi made the foundation of the Kashmir. The land of Dharma was created on that very particular day. At very that moment, the land of Dharma came into existence, and when Kashyap Rishi brought various rishis and various their clans to settle in Kashmir, and that is where the land of Dharma had taken its shape in Kashmir. Kaul Sahab has just touched regarding that Gonanda and Damodara, where this Gonanda was killed by Balrama, and Damodara was killed by Lord Krishna, and her widow Yashovati, that was pregnant, and later Gonanda came into the regime of Kashmir. So land of Dharma, the king Gonanda, when makes enquiry there was a very great scholar. He was called as Brahadavasu. He makes, even it is written in Nilmat Purana also. Even Raj Tarangani has some reference about it when he makes enquiries. Enquiries is made by King Gonanda, and Brahadavasu, he makes the reply to the enquiries of the King Gonanda. So this Brahadaswat, he explains all the religious places of Kashmir, including Shiva, and it is him only who first mentions the existence of Bhuteshwara and Kapteshwara. We know where Bhuteshwara is in the foothills of the Gangebal, and we know also Kapteshwara also. This raised the curiosity of Gonanda. He further makes these enquiries about the existence of these two places. So these two places, these are also in existence on the land of Dharma. Kalana, he makes reference to Harshacharita and Brihat Samhita. Now these two, they came into existence, and there was one another that was called as the Nipravali. Nipravali was written by K. Khemendra. There was Partha Bhavali by Hela Raja. He had written that, and of course there was Nilmat Purana too. So these things helped Kalana to write about the land of Dharma, about the Kashmir, and put the historical evidence which came to us so that we could learn about the Kashmir and its past. Now, so far as in the 10th century, I am briefly touching each and every aspect. In the 10th century, Mokshapaya Shastra was written in Kashmir. Mokshapaya Shastra. Mokshapaya Shastra, where it was written? It was written on the Pradman Hill. That means on Hari Parvat. It was written there. It contains near about 30,000 shlokas. 30,000 shlokas. Later, and it mentions there is a dialogue between Lord Rama and Rishi Vashishta. It is all in these 30,000 shlokas. 30,000 shlokas. But it was later. It was Vedanticized later on. It was later on, and given a very short. Otherwise, it was in 5 volumes. It was given a very short this poem, and that is what turned down Yoga Vasishtha. Yoga Vasishtha is also having base in Kashmir, and who did it? This Abhinavananda. Abhinavananda's father was Jayant Bhatta. He did this great work. Now, if we go to the Rudramalaya Tantra, then Rudramalaya Tantra also, we are having a description of how this Shama, because it was my topic in my book, I researched great on this. How Shama came to Kashmir and how she became as Ragina. There is a book written by Kashmiri Pandit lady who gives that Maharagina is not the word which has been given to the Devi, but it has been derived from the Queen Victoria. It was given, this word was given to the first Queen Victoria, and then it was given to the same word was adopted for Devi. But it is totally wrong, and it is not a well researched book. It is not there in Rudramalaya Tantra. It is clear. It is clear and clear when they say how they say Ya Devi Nishkala Shama Niravaya Niranjana Mahashi Podishi Vidya Ya Ragini Nigadite. It is clear when they say Ya Devi Nishkala Shama, or she became from Shama. She became as Ragina. As Shama, she was not as a Vaishnav deity, but when she turned as Ragina, she turned as a Vaishnav deity. So this is one. And so far as we will take the other institution as a Sharda Peeth. Now Sharda Peeth, it basically, when we do certain puja padhatis in Kashmir, we know that we do there in puja padhatis, it is included as nyasa, and in nyasa has one aspect, that is the Peeth nyasa. There were several pithas in India, and each was categorized as which was at the top and which was at the bottom. And the Sharda Peeth, that was at the top, and they were compared with the Kundalini awakening stage. How they were continuing, I will tell you. Now Jalandhar Pitha, that was given at the lowest, that means that Mooladhara, so far as the Kundalini awakening is concerned. They said Om Him Jalandhar Pitha Namu Mooladhara. That means Jalandhar Pitha was given the stage of Mooladhara. Om Shri Udadiyan Pithaye Nama Swadhisthane. Now it came as one stage higher. It was given at Swadhisthane. Om Ram Kamrup Pithaye Nama Anahate. It was further Anahate. Om Kali Madhupuri Pithaye Namo Manipuri. Now Manipuri Pitha, that was given further this stage. Om So Varanasi Pithaye. Now Varanasi itself was a peeth of learning. And whenever there was any Yagnopavit or the Janyo ceremony, they used to put their foot across towards northern part of the India, that is towards Kashmir. Then they used to have their Janyo. So Varanasi Pithaye was given Namo Vishuddho. Om Vim Anant Pithaye Nama Agyayama. And now comes the Sharda Pithaye. Om Sharda Pithaye Namo Brahmarendra. That means at the top, which was placed, it was placed Sharda Peeth. Sharda Peeth will give you in the utmost top place so far as this was considered. Now there are other things also. We may say that Vaskura. Now Vaskura is very much, I think nobody knows so much about the Vaskura saint who was in Kashmir, Vaskura. In fact, there is a mention of a village in Rajtarangni that's called Chandragomin. Today it is called Chandragom in Kashmir. There was a saint. His name was Chandra. He is the man. He is the man who revived Mahabhasha. He revived Mahabhasha and composed his own grammar because Panini's grammar was too difficult. It was too much difficult, and it was not an easy job to study Panini's grammar. So he simplified it. It was Chandra who simplified it. He simplified it for the other generations. So we also say that Chandrabin grammar is also very famous grammar. There was another. So you see the Vedas, they were not written down. They used to, mokshik transfer was there. That is, by verbal transfer, it used to go from one person to another person. It was Vaskura only who first wrote down these Vedas. He first wrote down. So Vaskura, no, he's a little bit unknown. Now let us go towards the Panini. Panini's Ashtadhyayi and Patanjali. That commentary, it has mention of Kashmira. It has mention of Kashmira. Varamira in his Brihat Samhita, he makes Kashmir as mention, and including he mentions the inhabitants, Abisaras, Dardas, Darvas, Khasas, Keras, etc. Now Khemendra is Samay Matrika. That mentions Kashmir and principle as this Ir Panchal as Panchadara. Then came Somadeva. Somadeva mentions Vitasta. And Vitasta Mahatma, there are 51 Mahatmas. And among the 51 Mahatmas, Vitasta Mahatma is the greater Mahatma, which mentions about the various Hindu shrines and places which were along this Vitasta. Bror in Kashmiri means God. Now, Vijayeshwara, Vijayabror we will call. There was Nandik Kshetra, the Bhuteshwara Narayan Nag was there, and there is mention of Uttarmansa. Uttarmansa is Ganga, which is Gangabal. Bilana gives detail of Khonmusha, it is Khonmu, presently Khonmu. Mankha gives details of Kolsa touched it. Gives detail of Pravarpura, the capital, and it gives us Harcharit Chintamani. Now, I did a research so far as the Amarnath Cave is concerned. There is ancient route to Amarnath Cave, and you will be astonished that it never passed through Anantnag, it never passed through Matan, it never passed. It always circumcised this route and went through Bijbihara. It went through Bijbihara. And prior to Bijbehara, there used to be a very old Vishnu shrine, and they used to the yatra was never commenced from Srinagar. It commenced from Baramulla, and from Baramulla it used to go to Amarnath, and they used to follow the Bijbehara. So ancient routes, there is a mention of so many places. I personally went. I did a research from 2015 to 2018. I tried to connect those places, but I could not find that Bijbehara place where it was a Vishnu temple. I was told that there are some ruins on the top of the hill, but I could not go there. But if you follow that ancient route, you will find that this land of Dharma contains so many places, so many religious places which are obscure at these days, and nobody knows about those places. And they have been occupied also this time, and we don't have any. So now, Kaul Sahab just mentioned, but I will last one because Kaul Sahab touched it. I will not. This is my last. He mentioned so far as the Tegh Bahadur Ji's day, martyrdom day. I would say that so far as the Guru Gobind Singh is concerned, the Kriparam Dutt, he never went back. There are certain books there. It is said even Anand Kaul has said that their leader came and he died at Banhal, that Pir Panchal areas. But Kriparam Dutt never came back. His brother and Kriparam Dutt, they joined the army of Guru Gobind Singh, and in 17, I think, end of in the beginning of, I think, 18th century, I think 1705. I think when there was some course of war, on the last day, both these brothers, that is Kriparam Dutt and his brother, they defended that fort. They allowed Guru Gobind Singh to gain access out of that fort. It was a mud fort, and they left and they gave the sacrifice. It is said that only 6 to 10 people were alive at that time in the cave, and there were thousands and thousands of Mughal forces which were occupying that fort. And this Kriparam Dutt is to be later. You will find his name as Bhai Kripa Singh only. You will not find Kriparam Dutt. But I searched for this, and he's the same person who was Kriparam Dutt and his brother. They sacrificed themselves there, and he was his teacher so far as the Sanskrit and Persian is concerned. He was his teacher, Guru Gobind Singh's teacher, so far as the martial art extra learning of that. So he was one of the Dharmic warriors, and Kriparam Dutt is the hero of, I think, Kashmir, so far as the Dharmic warriors are concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vinodji. I think you have touched upon certain facts which are not that much highlighted. I think we need to do a full session with you. We'll definitely look forward to that. I think it's a huge store of knowledge which you have. We'll definitely come back to you for a detailed session. Now we have a great honor and privilege that a well-known author, educationist, novelist, and history researcher, Shri Sanjay Sonawani ji is with us, and he has written 96 books in different languages, including Marathi and English, on histories, sociology, plays, novels. So one of the important books which he has written is on Kashmir, on Emperor of Kashmir, Lalitaditya the Great, and he has also been associated with various initiatives in Kashmir through some NGO. And I will now straight away go to Sanjay Sonawani ji and request him and to share that. See, you have written so many books, and out of which Emperor of Kashmir, Lalitaditya the Great, features as one of your prominent books. Lalitaditya was not only a great warrior who was called Alexander of India, but he was also known as a great builder. In fact, I have visited the Parihaspura, which is near Manasbal, and seen the remains of that huge expanse of construction which he had done. In fact, there are no rocks available in that particular hillock. I'm surprised where from those rocks came, those stones came to build such a huge capital. Could you please share some of the important highlights of his rule and his personality, which ultimately, again, when we talk about Kashmir, the land of Dharma, King Lalitaditya was a very important and integral part of that. Could you please share with us some knowledge, some information about that particular king? Sanjay Sonawani ji, you will have to unmute yourself. Sanjay ji.
Thank you. Saput Namaskar. I am very much honored to be part of this first online Kashmiri festival, first time ever organized, and Global Kashmiri Public Diaspora in association with IAM Buddha. Indeed, the Kashmir is land of Dharma, but same time it was land of valor also. So in Lalitaditya's history, it tells us how a vast empire was established by this great warrior king. Though Kashmir has glorious and rich history, the mainland people of India hardly knows about it. Kashmir was guiding force of Asia, including this subcontinent in philosophy and spirituality. This is the only state in the country which has written history of almost 4,000 years, but not much academically written on this history the way it should have been. I came across Lalitaditya Muktapida the Great almost accidentally. When I went through his glorious career, I was wonderstruck. Why is not known to the people, even historians of the mainstream academia? Then I realized when I started digging deeper and deeper in that history that Lalitaditya is wrapped in many obscurities and confusion. Confusion of his time also. Hence, the timeline of Lalitaditya's history and the history of subcontinent and rest of Asia was not matching. After rigorously matching the timeline, a stunning history began to appear, which I penned down in this book, Lalitaditya the Great. Lalitaditya was first Indian king who had sensed the danger of Arab invasions. After Mir Qasim's first invasion, Dahir's son Jai Singh had taken shelter in Kashmir when Lalitaditya's elder brother Chandrapira was ruling the kingdom. Chandrapira was brave enough to repel the Arabs and keep them at bay from Kashmir. He stopped Junaid near Jalandhar till, till their Kashmir's boundaries were expanded by the first king of Karkotaka dynasty, Durlabhvardhana. Later, Lalitaditya, as he assumed throne, he opened joint military operation with Yeshwarman, the king of Kanauj, against Junaid, who was governor, Arab governor of Sindh Multan. He not only defeated him, but drove him out of the country, which resulted in the death of Junaid. Later on, Tamim and Al-Hakam also met with the same fate. We are unfortunate that we did not have any great king or emperor of his stature later, and the result is before us. We fell in an era of slavery in coming centuries. While chasing Junaid on his own, he conquered Kabulistan, Jabulistan, Balkh, and the Tokharistan and established his vassal kings. He freed all the trade routes, those were leading to China. On his way back, he fought with the Tibetan forces as well because Tibet was a superpower then and subjugated Baltistan, Gilgit, and then he entered Ladakh and annexed Ladakh also to Kashmir and gained control over Zojila Pass. That was the main trade route passing through Kashmir. So credit goes to Lalitaditya, who first time ever annexed Gilgit, Baltistan, and Ladakh to subcontinent to India. Luckily, now Zojila tunnel is in making, and we have demanded that this new tunnel should be named after Lalitaditya the Great, so that it will be a great tribute to this great king, great emperor. Now we have available his correspondence with Chinese on court that shows his vision. He knew the controlling the trade routes meant controlling the surrounding regions and overall economy. These victories not only brought immense wealth to Kashmir, but its boundaries got expanded till north of Hindu Kush and Pamir. This was a great achievement of Lalitaditya. It was the biggest jolt to the Arab expansionist strategies and to the rising Tibetan might. Later, he undertook his south campaign. He subjugated Emperor Yeshwarman of Kannauj and other part of North India. He captured Bengal, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, and many parts of West and Northwest India. After the defeat of Yeshwarman, the Kashmiri kingdom of Lalitaditya became the largest empire in India. His empire can only be compared with the Chandragupta or Ashoka empire. This is a greatest achievement of a Kashmiri emperor, which is unparalleled in the Indian history and also proud history for the people of Kashmir. Besides being warrior par excellence, he was a great diplomat. His correspondence with Tangkot shows that he was wary of growing power of Tibet and wanted to jointly check it. Though Chinese emperor could not act on his counsel, Lalitaditya himself fought 3 wars against Tibet and stopped their intrusion in his territories and kept trade routes safe. His great achievement do not stop here. He was a great creator and created many great temples, stupas and cities all over Kashmir. The Martan Mandir, though in ruins today, stands testimony to his important creations. The remains of the city of Paryaspur still sings the glory of Lalitaditya through the massive edifices it contains. He also brought many scholars to Kashmir. Atrigupta, the forefather of great Abhinav Gupta, was brought by him from Madhya Pradesh to Kashmir, and we know the rest of the history. How philosophically rich culture was developed or founded by Abhinav Gupta. He was all victorious king. His thirst for wins was unquenchable. In the last years of his career, he undertook the mission of conquering China. It's a very bold step, a very bold dream he saw. China was facing internal problems that time, so he thought an opportune time that to attack China and annex it to his empire. But unfortunately, he started with his army and entered the vast cold desert of Taklamakan, Tarim Basin. Some historians claim he even reached the desert of Gobi. No one knows what happened of this campaign as he never returned. Some says he died in the storm of sand, and or there are many stories. Kalana also has given 2-3 versions of his end, but it was a very, very bold step ever taken by any Indian king, which we should not forget. His era was truly a golden era in the history of India. This is very brief sketch of Lalitaditya. Born around 725 AD, he left inerasable mark on the history. But we are unfortunate that we forgot him almost. His greatness as a warrior, diplomat, creator, and just ruler remained unsung so far. But this is a time when we talk of Kashmir, we should talk of Abhinav Gupta, Lalleshwari, all the great philosophers and saints of land of Kashmir, and the emperors like Lalitaditya, because this is land of Dharma, same time it is land of valor as well. So we should not forget that. And we should sing his glory of Lalitaditya, his achievements forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay ji. So, very nice brief about the mightiest king of India, Lalitaditya. So now I move on to Dileep Langoo ji, my dear friend and great support to the community in terms of preserving culture. Dileep Langoo ji is a very senior artist, music director, singer, lyricist of from Kashmir, and who has performed in international and domestic festivals, events, and platforms, including Doordarshan and many electronic mediums. He was associated with popular projects including Gul Gulshan Gulfam. While we know him as a leading artist, I consider him as a scholarly artist, because whenever I talk with him, I discuss with him. So he is more like a scholar rather than an artist. So I consider him a scholarly artist who has a good knowledge, fairly good knowledge about our culture, history, and traditions. So Dileep ji, during Islamic rule in Kashmir, though the Vinod Razdan ji, Rakesh ji, and Sanjay ji, talked about, touched upon those the rich past of Kashmir, which is basically prior to the Islamic invasion in Kashmir. But during Islamic rule also, Kashmir suffered a lot. Kashmir and its aborigines both suffered. because we were, subjected to genocide. Demolition of institutions took place, temples took place, destruction of scriptures, culture, etc. So we had a very bad and dark past. So, but even during that period, some of the tallest personalities like Shri Bhatt, Kripa Ramji, Birbal Dhar risked their lives to uphold this dharma. So, could you please highlight their role and their contribution towards Kashmir? Dileep ji.
Uh, Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
First
yes.
of all, uh, panelists have already, revered panelists have already spoken a lot about our cultural past, dharma's past. But at the same time, I would like to highlight few aspects that is an addition, because dharma, since Sharika days, when Parbat was there, was the presence of dharma over adharma. Jalodbhava was buried there. So, uh, uh, coming to the aspect where our energy centers appeared in Kashmir, that is important to know. Goddess Sati, everybody know. Jalodbhava, everybody know. But when Sharika decided to stay at Hari Parvat along with all Devtas, Kagbushundi, Saptarishi, Kali, Ganpati, to name a few, Jwala at Crew, Maharagna at Tulmul, Sharda at Neelam Valley, Bala, the seven sister goddesses at Valuhoma, which is spread to Avantipura. Name any village, we have goddesses, Bhairava, Rudra, Nandakeshwara, Nagas, guarding a particular area. Dwadashakalis, 64 Bhairavas, 11 Rudras, Nagas, above all, occupying the respective territories. Not just occupying the territories, but becoming part and parcel, means a particular place is that spiritual entity which chose it as her or his abode. We have Vasuki, Ananta, Takshaka, and many other deities like Kubera, Grihadevta, Vatuka, Ramugadu, Vagur, Kamadev, Vitasta, Ganga, Krishna, Sindhu, and lot more. In this holy journey, we need to mention that Kashmira is and will remain the land of Dharma till this Bhutara, the Mother Earth, exists. Every place is governed by these Shaktis, and the responsibilities to preserve them given to a special class of people known as rishis and munis. There came a time when dharmic affairs started to weaken due to arrival of new religions, Buddhism and Islam, who started to influence and destroy the native culture and practice by deception and force, which weakened the old social fabric. Although the basic cultural structure remained the same because of our determined ancestors, but still a large number of people were converted. According to these foreigners, through deception, torture, and conversion happened at various stages, but no one could eliminate the grace of Sati and Shiva. Many of our shrines were destroyed and dargahs and mosques were made over them, but some were converted to dargahs because of the protests by the local structures remained the same, and it is well documented. Many archaeological remains are still found near these areas where structures were destroyed. These shrines, which are partially destroyed and renovated, some of the examples are the shrines of Shahamdan, which actually is a Kali temple where we still go and perform our rituals in front of the boundary wall on the river bank. And another example is Dastgir Sahib shrine. According to the descendants of the invaders, they say it's a locally developed Islamic architecture, but it's a typical Himalayan temple architecture which was renovated because they couldn't destroy it due to mass opposition. In Kashmir, we even today have some temples of Ekadash Rudras at Bijbihara, Vangat, Baramulla, Kulgam, Shankaracharya, and other places. When Dharma was attacked, many divine individuals took birth to protect it, and the journey began from Utpala, Abhinava, Laleshwari, Mata Rupa Bhavani, Swami Ram, Bhagwan Gopinath, Swami Vidyadhar, Sri Bhatt, Kriparam Dutt, Birbal Dhar, Neel Ratna, Sampat Kuji, Gopi Pandit Gopi Krishan, Swami Lakshmanju, Jankinath Dhar, Mathura Devi, Sharika Devi, Kashyap Bandhu, to name a few. Our present day warriors played a distinct role to retain our dharmic status, which we are Continuing today with the grace of our mentors and social revolutionists, we learned through the historical records of Jona Raja two important personalities. Neela Ratna reconverted Kashmiris who were converted to Islam back to Shaiva fold, for which he was hanged in an open public view to terrorize masses, but there is not much information available about him. The other was Sri Bhatta, who was an Ayurvedacharya who saved King Ghayasuddin Shahi Khan's life. The Sri Bhatta gifted us a classless society and inspired King to reverse the exodus of Pandits then and reformed all the laws which were made to torture the determined Bhattas. Bhattas invited back were resettled around Zainagadal area of Srinagar. All the good acts of King earned him with honorific Zainul Abidin, the great king. Dr. T. N. Ganjoo, in his book Mahashri Bhatta, has mentioned that in socio-political development of Kashmiri Bhattas, Sri Bhatt played an important role. Jona Raja mentioned him in his Raj Tarangi as a health minister and a well-behaved and unique social leader. Sri Bhatta won trust of the king and used his position wisely for Bhattas for his community. It was during his tenure that Kashmir gained its lost glory in a different atmosphere now. He was a great influencer. By reversing the exodus, he set a classic example with which courage. Sri Bhatt became an icon of wisdom and sensibility. After this, around 1518 AD, Bhattas revolted, which says volumes of how some of their own people, who we call Jaichants, helped these tormentors who were actually outnumbered just to satisfy their greed. This period reorganized our community and made it strong and more undeterred. We all know about the great Kriparam Dutt, who later became Kripa Singh, sacrificed himself for Kashmiri Bhattas and then for the greater Hindu community in the Battle of Chamkaur. It is said that Rupa Bhavani had instructed them to form a group and meet Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji at Anandpur Sahib because of the atrocities of local Mughal governor who had unleashed terror on Pandits. Forced conversion was on during Aurangzeb's rule everywhere. 500 other warriors to sacrifice their lives in one or the other wars means the group not only met Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji but fought to retain Dharma for coming times with Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Our salutations to them. Another great men during Pathan rule were Pandit Birbal Dhar and his son Raj Kakdar, who emerged on the Kashmiri scenario as heroes and brought Maharaja Ranjit Singh to Kashmir. Both of them lost their wives to the lust of Afghans. Pandit Birbal Dhar's wife committed suicide before Afghans could touch her, but unfortunate for Raj Kakdar's wife, who was exploited and taken to Afghanistan after that, nothing is known about her. Narendra Sehgal says that prominent Pandits of Kashmir decided to protect the society and a secret meeting was organized for carrying out the sacred duty. The meeting was held in the house of Mirza Pandit and it was decided that Maharaja Ranjit Singh must be approached for help. This sacrifice not only changed the Dharma scenario but laid the foundation of Sikh and later Dogra rule in Kashmir. During Ranbir Singh's rule, a lot of dharmic activities started. Though Guru Puja was reintroduced, new temples were built and old were renovated. Kashmiri architecture was replaced with Indian Vimana design and a new atmosphere thus was established. There are many such warriors of Kashmir who influenced the common masses to retain our dharmic status, among whom were Swami Ram, Rajka Ganju, Harbat Shastri, Nityanand Shastri, Mukundram Shastri, Dr. Shivnath Sharma, who contributed to the Sharda legacy, which was converted into Devanagari, so the precious Dharma treasure was saved from getting destroyed. Dramaticians like Madhav Jyotiku, Madhav Dhar, Madhav Das, Trilok Das, Brijmohan Mishri and others spread the message through staging leelas on dharmic subjects to influence masses. On the advent of radio, Pran Kishore Kaul, Dinanath Nadim staged Vitasta, a symbolic dance drama depiction which spread a new zeal and realization of dharmic subjects related to Valley of Kashmir and its lifeline Vyat. During 70s, we saw a churning of dharmic activities. Kashyap Bandhu introduced lots of reforms. My own grandfather, Pandit Tikalal Langoo, who took a revolutionary, he was a revolutionary of a different creed, His dharmic act was seen through his reconstructing of a lost temple at Dumpora in the heart of Basant Bagh, a Muslim locality opposite to Maharaja Palace near Gadadhar Temple. A mini locality was created housing more than 35 families living there for years together. Today it's a devastated temple, but just three families still are living there, dharma intact. Janakinath Kaul Kamal, Dr. Rajni Shekhar, Utpal Kaul, Vijay Hundu, Tikalal Tablu, Mohan Nirash, Advocate Premnath Bhatt, and so many others stood like Bhima Kai Ganpati at each time, gave resistance to the tirade of conversion, spreading information on Kashmira through our old historical records and Dharma sources. I am aware of one of my projects on Bhavani where I heard the anchor saying that Swami Vivekananda in 1898 said in Tulmala that Hindus of this valley must do Avahanam of Bhagavati for the firm continuity of Shakti on the soil of Kashmira. Such things happened in a strange way. In 1990, His Divinity Pandit Sri Janakinath Dharji declared to his disciples that leave Kashmir. I have installed Mahagayatri on the soil of Kashmira and its Indian Army job to now onward till dark forces are defeated. On a trip to Kashmir once, Aurobindo, who was gifted a set of books on Kashmir Shaiva Darshana by the then Maharaja, acknowledged to Maharaja of Kashmir later in one of his letters that had this been read by him earlier, he would not have authored Savitri, one of his pioneering works, which, as per his understanding, is the same as Shaiva treasure of Kashmir. So you see, when you land in Srinagar airport, Shiva and Shankaracharya is on your right hand side, and Hari Parvat Sharika abode on your left hand side. Again, is indicative of our oneness with Ida and Pingala of Kashmir, which is still active to the tune that Dharma will never set its sun in Kashmir. Martanda is going to re-emerge. Shiva and Shakti aspects are vibrantly influencing the global citizens. Shaiva philosophy is spreading through Shaivagamas, Trikadarshan, and Lalvaks. Abhinava and Lal are translated into almost more than 35 world languages globally. Thank you for the patient listening.
Thank you, Dileep ji. Thank you. You have been, perfect to the time, and I thank you again. While I, request Rakesh ji, he has to share the secret supreme of Kashmir, learning for Dharma. I just wanted to share this information. On 25th year of exile, I had compiled an exhibition of the personalities after 90 who contributed towards this, upholding land, upholding this dharma in Kashmir. Dozens of such personalities. I will name a few those who are not with us today, but he have done immensely wonderful work, irrespective of political lineages. But yes, their only one mission was that they wanted to uphold the dharma of Kashmir. So few names just for the knowledge of audience. Late Pandit Amarnath Vaishnavi ji, late Amarnath Ganjoo ji, Pandit Premnath Bhatt ji, late Pandit A.K. Kaul, late Pandit Dr. P.N. Sharga, late Pandit Dwarkanath Munshi, late Pandit D.P. Pokol, late Pandit Hiralal Chatta ji, H.N. Nehru ji, Justice J.N. Bhatt, Papa ji, Pandit J.N. Kaul, Makhalal Ahmad ji, Nagarjun Ganjoo, P.L. Handu, Pyarelal Kaul, S.K. Kaul, Sanjay Kulu, Shamlal Shakdar, Shiban Duda, Trilokinath Khosaji, T.N. Peshanji. Recently, we lost M.K. Kaur Sahab, B.L. Sadhu Sahab. So there are dozens of such personalities who have, without any, personal interest, contributed a lot towards upholding this dharma. So over to Rakesh ji, and request you to please share that secret and also close the session so that we are in time, as per the schedule. Rakesh ji.
Sanjay Ganjoo ji, Dileep Langoo ji, Vinod Razdan ji, Sanjay Sonawani ji, what a stirring drum roll it has been of Dharma warriors over 5,000 years that have inspired us. You will see a common pattern in these Dharma warriors. How are they different from the so-called holy warriors? How are they different from the ninja warriors? How are they different from the warriors of other cultures? And Kalhanna shares the secret supreme, which I'm going to tell you right now, so that the next generation, when they say, I want to be a Dharma warrior, they'll have an image in front of them. And I'm going to share the secret supreme of the Dharma warriors' oath, even when having to commit the most unpleasant act which a Kshatriya Dharma warrior has to commit. And Kalhanna says very beautifully, he says, even when closely thronged by snakes and harassed by the bamboo configuration, the tall sandal tree maintains its coolness. Kalhanna says a Dharma warrior is like Chandan. Chandan always stays cool, always stays uplifting. It is anti-inflammatory, it is antiseptic, and it is antimicrobial. It is noble. And what is the Dharma warrior's oath, which comes all the way from the Mahabharata? It's a long oath, but I will share the last aspect of it, where the Dharma warrior says, even if I have to kill, when I do so, may I look beautiful. A Dharma warrior does not slay out of hate. A Dharma warrior does not slay out of anger. A Dharma warrior does not slay out of religious ideology. A Dharma warrior slays like Durga for Dharma to sustain the universe and life. Only then, dispassionately. Thank you so much.
Thank you, eminent panelists who joined us this evening for this important session. I also thank Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora, Dr. Surendra Kolveer Kharji, and the entire team, which has been, driving this Kashmir festival. And I also thank I Am Buddha channel, Vivek Agnihotri and his team for, supporting this Kashmir festival and giving this a very big platform to highlight the story of Kashmir, the various facets of Kashmir. And thank you once again. And we'll come with one more session the next day. Thank you.